drop 'em. One hook and I'll rock 'em. One more and I'll stop 'em. Call the fighter, I'll off 'em. Op 'em. If he reach, then I'll pop 'em. Street sweeper, I'll wash 'em. Homicide, come and chalk 'em. Drop 'em. One hook and I'll rock 'em. One more and I'll stop 'em. Call the fighter, I'll off 'em. Op 'em.
You are now tuned into the Boxing Bros. I'm Kaden and I'm here with my co-host.
You know what it is. Believe it when I see it, Trill.
You know Chef Bar G had to come through today.
And it's your boy, the TBE. What up, world?
The first topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is our reaction to Joyce knocking out Joseph Parker in the 11th round. It actually took place. But there's a man who's been calling this for a long time. There's a man who's been trying to let y'all know what it is. He's been trying to let y'all know what Joyce was going to do, and he's been telling you about Joseph Parker. And so now it's his time to shine. Chef Boyardee.
Hey man, listen. I'll say this. I'm half right. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to come here talking about New Zealand lamb meat. You know what I'm saying? But I was actually impressed by Joseph Parker's performance. It's just unfortunately this dude had to actually fight a mutant. You know what I mean? Like this dude, Joyce. Man, it's like a cheat code, man. It's not even fair, yo. Like the dude doesn't slow down. I mean, he throws real slow, but it's consistent, and he's always, on you. And it's like, what can you do when you're like? Because I thought at first I'm looking at Parker and I'm like, all right, Parker looked like he's good. He's moving around. Parker got hit with a jab. I think it was round 1. And I was like, damn, did that jab hurt that much? He's doing all that. And then as the fight's going forward and everything, I still gave Parker them, like a lot of the early rounds. I was telling the guys, I gave like the first 4 rounds, like 3 out of the 4, I gave it to Parker. You know what I mean? But you could see in every round, Parker was losing a piece of himself. It was just literally, I was watching Joyce the slow cooker. Like the dude was literally just like marinating the lamb meat. You know what I'm saying? Like as the rounds went.
I don't you on blast, G, but what? You said tenderizing that lamb in the
man. Hey man.
in the chat.
Hey, listen. I'm telling you, it's the slow cooker Joyce tenderizing the lamb. You know what I'm saying? I remember I told y'all while Parker was walking in the ring, I was like, looking at New Zealand meat walking in the slaughter. You know what I'm saying? Like, butcher house, bro. He walked in that ring. He didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? But like, the reality is, Joyce is a problem. This guy is, yes, he is slow, but it doesn't matter. He makes up in every other level. Parker was throwing hammers, and Joyce was just eating them like Scooby snacks. Like, it was so crazy. I was just like, yo, man, the heavyweight division's in trouble, But I like to say salute to my man Joseph Parker. He had a great performance. And, that left hook, that slow left hook that came from around the corner when it landed, even Parker's like reaction to it was slow. Like his timber was slow. You know what I mean? So like it was fitting, man, for that performance from Joseph Parker, man. I mean from Joyce. But salute to both gentlemen. Man, I'm excited to see Joyce, man, his next fight, and I don't think it's over for Parker either. Obviously, man, he lost to a guy that's a real top contender, and it's not like Joyce is like a young dude. The dude's like 37, you know what I mean? So Joyce is like Wilder's age, you know what I mean? He's just new to the sport. So yeah, I'm excited for both gentlemen, man. Parker, keep your head up. I know I've been talking down these past couple of fights, but you made it up on this go around, and I can understand why. He's probably like, damn, man, I got all the Furies watching my fight. They're all watching me. I can't give up now, and But I'll say this, Park, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Not one of them dudes could talk trash. Because when Joyce was looking at Fury, I seen Fury look away, bro. I'm just saying. I seen Fury go, you know what I mean? So, bro, you ain't got nothing to worry about, bro. You could go back to the UK and with your head up high, man. You did good.
All right. I got word that this man has been studying boxing, which is a rarity. And he watched this fight like 2 or 3 times because he felt like he needed to watch it again. So we're gonna go to TBE next. What was your reaction to that fight?
TBE,
Professor TBE.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Man, Georgia seems to surprise me every time I watch him fight, man. And first off, I want to say this fight was so exciting. It was an entertaining fight. It was a great fight. If you didn't see it, I asked you to go.
Oh man, this guy's connection. The universe was like, what is this? Ned sounded sophisticated. Click.
Just when Ned was about to shine.
What?
Who's this Ned talking about his skills on everybody? His AOL dial-up internet went out. All right, well, in this case, man, we're going to have to just keep it moving, and we're going to have to go to the commish. Trill Dollar Bill.
The commish is in the building. What's going on, everybody? Listen. Last night, I'm gonna give it to you guys. You guys both said Joe Joyce. I gave it to JP. I said, there's no way JP is gonna go in there and be soft, like how my man G was calling him soft. He wasn't gonna go in there against Joe Joyce and be soft, especially about hanging with the Furies. And he wasn't. He wasn't soft. He went in there, and I loved how y'all dubbed Joe Joyce. There you go. It's the TBE.
You go ahead, keep rolling, Trill. We'll bring him back in.
We'll bring it back to that after.
Well, I was actually going to piggyback off of the TBE because I know he was doing his studying. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I definitely love the fact that you two gentlemen called Joe Joyce the slow cooker. You know why? Because Joseph Parker was some tough lamb meat. You know, he was definitely he needed to cook for 6 hours. You know, because he definitely was
around. You know what I mean?
he definitely didn't come in there to lay down. Shout out to Joe Joyce too. Joe Joyce, his size was just too much to overcome, man. And I was impressed with Joseph Parker, his heart. Anybody else would have been giving up, and he didn't. He sat in there and tried to give as much as he can, even though he was being out bullied by the bully. You know, I said that. I screamed that to the chat last night. He's being bullied in there. You know what I'm saying? So said Fury might have to hop in there and help him. You know, but
hey, we've seen it before. Fury doesn't jump in other people's fights. Remember when Billy Joe Saunders' dad was trying to get to the ring and security? Fury was standing right there like, hey. Fury like, this is $1 million body, baby.
Nah, it was just crazy. Shout out to Joe Joyce, though. I wanted to say that this was a different Joe Joyce than the Joe Joyce that I seen before. Even though he was still slow, it was different. He actually didn't wait. He actually brought the fight. As soon as it started, he brought the fight to Joseph Parker. He wasn't waiting and letting Joseph Parker rack up points. No, he started fighting right off the rip. It was like the first punch he threw had Joseph Parker's face all red. I was like, oh, it's going to be a long night, you know? But look, I'm not even going to lie to you. I was watching this fight, and it reminded me of an epic fight. I had to go back and watch the fight last night. It was such an epic fight because that's what the Joe Joyce JP fight remind me of. Do you remember the movie Life? When Eddie Murphy was fighting the guy over the cornbread.
You don't get my cornbread.
In the yard.
Consequences and repercussions.
You know what I'm saying? Remember when he was fighting the guy in the yard and he kept taking the beating. But he showed nothing but heart. You know what I'm saying? That's what that fight last night remind me of.
Nah, man, we already showed this fight already before. Remember the Friday movie, man, when Jason fought the boxer dude. This is exactly the same fight. Parker's going ham in the beginning. He starts slowing down. He's like, oh, man, I ain't got it. Jason's just like, yo, you done, bro? You know what I mean? Head clean off. You know what I mean? That's Joseph. That's Joseph Parker getting his whole lamb meat head sliced. You know what I'm saying? But my man Joyce, man,
He was
crazy.
in the fight. It showed nothing but
life.
heart.
Of his life. That wasn't even a fight.
Speaking of life. Speaking of life. He was in the fight of his life.
That's right, and he ended up in the boom boom room.
No,
no, the upper room.
Well, shout out to JP, man. Nothing but heart, man. He came in there, but shout out to Joe Joyce too, man. He's getting better, man. The speed's not, but he is getting better. He's learning how to cut off the ring more effectively, and he's learning how to keep the distance. I seen something. His distance was on point. You know, being able to keep the distance, and when he was landing that jab, and he kept good distance. It seemed like he wasn't wasting anything, and he utilized his size. So shout out to Joe Joyce, and shout out to JP as well, man. It was an entertaining fight.
Hi, Professor TBE for the second time.
So my apologies to all the viewers and the audience watchers. I'm just having some technical difficulties, but I'm back now. My observations from that fight last night, and I did choose Joseph Parker. I wasn't here last week to make my pick, but I wanted Joseph Parker to win. And all right, man, Joe Joyce, he's really something special. He's really something special, man. Like and I didn't think Joseph Parker was gonna bring like that intensity, because he when he fought AJ, he was a little timid. Then he brought this fight to Joe Joyce, and like G said in the Friday 13th movie, that guy was just giving Jason everything he had, and he had no more. And I'm just literally he was literally punching the lights out on Joe Joyce, and nothing. It was just like like Joe Joyce is just a tank at this point, man. I don't know, man. I still can't believe it. I watched this knockout like a million times. Like, I swear, before I watched it over and over again. Like, how did he, like, when did it just all go wrong? Everything, even though Joseph Parker was starting to wear it down, but Joe Joyce,
that all went wrong when he signed the contract, bro.
Joe Joyce, speed is not in his forte, but endurance and he has high endurance, and he has a lot of power. And this is because I don't think Joseph Parker took into account that he was going to be this like durable this fight. Like, I don't think nobody knew how durable Joe Joyce was until this fight, and he's a scary sight. And I didn't think he was this durable. I think everybody,
bro, like who nobody knew he was this durable.
I didn't believe it. I don't think nobody could just,
all
sit
most
there and take
people
all that
kept talking
punishment.
about.
Like, we've seen greats go down, but Joe Joyce was just taking the punishment and delivering right back, and his face there was no wear and tear on that man. And I'm impressed. Yeah, and Joseph Parker, you may have lost, but you fought a good fight. And I think if you fight this style with other heavyweights, you're way more. You'll be able to wait. You have the skill set. This fighting style suits you now, because you're still a young fighter. You're only 30 years old, and you still have a long career
30.
ahead of you.
Bro, he's 37.
Joseph Parker.
Joseph
Parker's 30. He still got a lot of fight in him, and I think if he's this style he learned, he was training with Fury. This is the style that suits him better. The juggernaut prevailed in this fight, man. I don't know. It's a scary sight, man. Joe Joyce is something special for real.
Look, man, I'm not gonna show it, but when we gave our predictions, someone was in the comment section like, "Oh, you clowns don't know anything about boxing. Watching this now, I know Parker's gonna win, and I'm gonna bet some money."
Yeah.
Yeah, So,
I didn't even see that.
normally I let these things slide, but I just went back and asked, "Who's the clown now?" Question mark. I hope you didn't lose too much money. See, this is because you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with thinking Parker's going to win. There was a legitimate argument for Parker, and Parker put up a hell of a fight. The issue is the disrespect. Why we got to be clowns and not know what we're talking about? Then it plays out the exact way, and you don't even come back like, my bad, I was out of line or whatever. So I just want to point that out. Now let's talk about the fight. Joe Joyce showed me a lot, and I want to commend Joe Joyce for this because he won, but as Trill pointed out, he utilized his distance and he was able to use his lead hand to keep Joseph Parker at the distance, and then he found him with the right hand at times. One major improvement from Joe Joyce that I noticed was he wasn't taking all the punches to the head like he normally would. So he was picking some shots off on the glove. He was rolling with some of the punches, and I thought he was going to get hit more actually than he did. So he showed improvements defensively. He even showed like some head movement. And one of the things I noticed was when they were fighting in close, Joe Joyce even changed the angle a few times where he was on the other side of Parker waiting to load up on one of his shots. And so Joe Joyce showed a lot of improvement in that fight. Yeah, so Joe Joyce showed a lot of improvement in that fight. And I just felt like this guy now is like, no one can argue that he's not legit and that he's not elite. He beat the former heavyweight champion of the world, who's never been knocked out before. It's been hurt by Dillian White, been dropped, but's never been knocked out before, and he legitimately knocked him out. So I think you got to give Joe Joyce his props, and you have to admit that he's elite at this particular point in time because no one's made Joseph Parker look the way that he did, which is this. We were talking in the chat, and I know that Trill and G gave Joseph Parker some of the early rounds. I gave him to Joe Joyce because I felt like Joe Joyce was fighting the majority of the rounds, and I felt like his work was more effective. Meaning, like at the end of the round, I felt like Joseph Parker had gotten beaten worse than Joe Joyce did. And for example, like Joseph Parker would land the cleaner, flashier punches in like 30 seconds of the round. But for 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the round, it was Joe Joyce hunting, Joe Joyce landing, Joe Joyce peppering, Joe Joyce tenderizing that lamb, as G was saying. And for me, I've always stated this, and you can go back to our older shows, and this is what I like about doing this. I tell people I hold true the same logic all the time. I don't think you can only fight 30 seconds of a round while someone's fighting the entirety of the round and you win the round. Unless you drop them or unless you do something spectacular in that 30 seconds, I don't think you deserve to win the round. So I didn't give Joseph Parker the earlier rounds. I thought Joe Joyce won this fight. If it went to the scorecards, he was going to win by 5 or 6 rounds on my card because I feel like Parker was just waiting and landing. And we can get to Parker. Tremendous heart. He showed tremendous heart for someone who's criticized about not having a killer instinct. He went for it. He tried. He tried to knock Joyce out. He went out on his shield. What more could you ask for, right? He was in against a guy who had the height advantage, the weight advantage, the reach advantage, right? But we all knew that going in. Everybody talking trash in the comment section knew that going in, right? So you don't get to like say that now that he got tenderized and slow cooked that, oh, he's giving up all this. No, he was giving up all that going in. Like G said, when he signed the contract, he knew all that, right? So it didn't work out in his favor. I don't necessarily see how Joseph Parker could ever recover and come back and become heavyweight champion again. I think his time is done. Although he's only 30, he's what I would consider an old 30. Look at his fights with Andy Ruiz. Look at it. Look at his 2 fights with Derek Chisora that took a lot out of him. And then now he just got into a brutal war with Joe Joyce. I don't necessarily know if he'll ever reach the top of the mountain again. But if he doesn't, he's had a hell of a career. He's been heavyweight champion of the world. No one could ever take that away from him. And that's something that even Joe Joyce is still trying to accomplish. But at this particular point in time, there's a heavyweight that needs his respect. He may not be the fastest guy, but timing can beat speed, and he has great timing. He has great chin. He has a hell of an engine. He keeps coming forward. He doesn't stop. He fights every minute of every round. And in the heavyweight division, that's a rarity. Let's be honest. Yeah.
I didn't even. You just said that too. Every minute of every round. That was another thing that I seen different in Joe Joyce. His tank. He did not seem like he was fading at all, and he turned it up. It seemed like
at 11, right? Yeah, this one I thought he was going to go away.
He never turned it up. Like I was looking for the slow, get tired Joe, and that ain't who showed up. You know, I was thinking that my man JP had the speed and will be able to get past the, but the distance and everything else. I can't say. Props to the young man, Joe Joyce. You can finish, my brother. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's another thing I'm saying. He fights every minute of every round, which is rare for a heavyweight. Like you always see heavyweights need a moment where they hug and they like when that was happening. Joe was using that as an opportunity to put his weight on Joseph Parker. Like he grabbed
we ain't going nowhere.
He wouldn't even grab. Usually when they clinch and grab the fighter. He just grabs the rope, like, yo, Finn, you know you ain't going nowhere.
You see the right? It was when y'all were laughing about it, right? Y'all were laughing how he held him on the ropes. He had his it reminded me of a guy talking to his shorty on the fence. Right. He got his hands on the fence. He won't let his shorty get past.
I just think, to be honest with you, and I'll close with this. Like they both deserve so much respect. Joe Joyce went in, and all he heard was he's a guy with a granite chin, and he doesn't have much ability, but he showed he does. He, like Ned's saying, how he landed that hook. We need to talk about how he keeps landing that hook. I remember when Deontay Wilder was coming up, and he was knocking guys out, and people would talk about his lack of skill. But the one thing that was undeniable was Wilder finds a way to put that right hand across your face. Mm-hmm. And he's done it against everyone to this day. Even Tyson Fury, one of the most slippery guys in the division, has been caught by that right hand 4 times and put on the floor 4 times. So regardless of what you say about Wilder and his lack of skill, which, trust me, I'm on that train. In fact, I might even be the conductor of that train. But you cannot argue with the fact that he finds a way to put that right hand across everyone's face. Look at Luis Ortiz and what he did with Andy Ruiz. Wilder found a way to put that right hand on his face 2 times. So you got to respect Wilder for that. You may not see it in some of these fighters. You may not see it in Joe Joyce. But he finds a way to put his fist on Daniel Dubois' face and close his eye. He finds a way to put that hook on Joseph Parker, a guy who's never been knocked out before and's been in the ring with Anthony Joshua, Derek Ward Chisora, Dillian White, been in the ring with all these guys. None of them could knock him out. Joe Joyce did that. And Joseph Parker isn't the kind of guy who gets in wars and takes a lot of wear and tear, so you can't blame it on wear and tear like that. It's legitimate. Joseph Parker will be back. I recommend taking an easy touch that looks good on paper like an F.A. Ajapa and knock him out and get him out of the way. Just saying. And then Joe Joyce is moving on to bigger and better things, and they better take him seriously.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We're just getting started. We're the Boxing Bros.